Guys, everybody was all worked up about Myles Garrett. We'll see if it's he obviously dislocated a toe. We don't know which toe it is. I texted my physical therapist and said, is this a big deal? He said, only if it's the big toe. If it's not the big toe, it's no big deal. So everybody, of course, turned this into like, oh, my God, these guys were having fun. Who cares? I know you don't want him to be hurt. I think he's going to be fine. We shall see. Gia, you panicked about this. You flipping out?
Listen, if it's his big toe, he in trouble. I'm telling y'all right now, man. Listen, I'm not a doctor, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express. Now, look, I done had 19, 20 surgeries and keep going up every time I tell the story.
Yeah. You got
Obviously,
a lot of surgeries.
I dislocated my big toe at the growth plate, like two different places.
Yeah.
And basically, I had to get a rod put in my big toe. Now, I was like 13 when it happened. Now, when you get the dislocated toe, the first thing you got to understand, you dislocate anything, there's ligaments around that.
Yeah, right.
And so those ligaments are stretched.
Out. Yep.
Now you got to figure out whether you got any small tears or whatever. And just believe that even if you just, have microscopic tears, that's what we call turf toe. I had that my entire senior year. It's one of the most debilitating things I've ever had. You can't push off. You have no explosiveness. You're on your back foot. Now you look at what Myles Garrett is, right? And people say this all the time, like, oh, he'll be fine. If you're a regular civilian, I need y'all to stop capping. Regular civilians is not that tough. Y'all be acting like y'all got a little cough and y'all don't go to work. Let your next door neighbor dislocate an elbow. They ain't going to work for 3 weeks. Oh, you gotta get me. Get me, Barbara.
Oh my God.
Barbara, come in. We got to go to the No.
I just want to know this. Now, we go to the Pro Bowl games. We're waiting for the Pro Bowl. We're not hitting nobody. How you come out hurt?
They're running. They're doing a battle of the network stars here. They're running through walls.
I saw nonsense things.
It looked fun.
Dodgeball.
I didn't watch it, but it looked fun.
Man, listen, I bet the ownership don't think it's fun today.
Well, they should. You know what? They
I
can't.
ain't playing.
Is it really that big a deal?
Yes.
He's going to be fine.
What?
Leroy, let's bring in Leroy. Leroy, are you worried about Myles Garrett's dislocated toe?
Hey.
What's up, Leroy?
No, he'll have plenty of time to heal. I did to G. Bush's point. So about 3 weeks ago,
what you dislocated?
4 weeks ago, I started having like a little knee stiffness from coming back from my thumb, start golfing and doing some stuff at the gym or whatever. And it was stiff, so, I was stretching it, getting the jacuzzi, doing my little workouts in the pool or whatever. Kept getting worse. 4 weeks later, I get up on Monday, I can't walk on it.
Oh,
I'm like, wow. I tell my wife, I'm going to the hospital. Don't go to the hospital.
Don't go to emergency, go to urgent care.
It's emergency when I can't walk. Right? So we go to Tuesday. It ain't getting no better. So I say, you know what? I'm going to do what all husbands would do in my situation. I'm going to wait till she go to sleep. And then I'm going to sneak over to the emergency room. So I get up at like 4:30, 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
I go to the emergency room. I'm there for about 3-4 hours. I get a CT scan and an X-ray. I have a fractured fibula.
Jesus.
Oh,
Crazy.
Right.
I thought you were just diagnosed with old, but you got a fractured fibula.
No, I had a fractured fibula. So I go to the doctor next day. I get an MRI, and they say you have a fractured fibula, but you have a bone bruise. How did you do it? I don't know. He said, well, when you was playing Sunday, when you was playing golf and you said it was bothering you, why didn't you stop? I said, because I was winning. Hey, come on. I said, because I was winning. I ain't going to give nobody no free dub. So when you talk about things that happen, athletes, if they having a good time, it don't hurt as much.
right.
Right? And so what I think is that you ever notice teams that are 1-8 always have a lot of injured players, and teams that are 8-1, everybody's sucking it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's life, man. That's life. Depending on how your life is going, depending on how much pain you could deal with. So I just think he'll be fine. He just needs some time off. He's going to wear them flip-flops for a while. Let that swelling go down. I broke a toe, broke my big toe, and before I could get into the locker room when I did it, they had to cut my shoe off. And that was like 5 minutes. So when I see him limping and then he just decides to take a time out, I feel for him because I know it ain't no joke. It ain't no joke.
That toe get to leaning like this?
Fine, though. Yeah, he'll be fine. So I think for the Pro Bowl, this is the best way to do it, okay? Because there's a couple things you can't do. There's no such thing as fake football.
Nope.
You either tackling or you not. You can't put these guys in pads and think somebody not gonna knock the hell out of somebody, right? Because they're gonna be some trash talk. Somebody gonna get beat, and they gonna get mad and say, "I got all these equipment on, I'm taking them out." So I think this is the best way to do it this week because of all the sports. This is the most physical. So what you have to do is you have to showcase all of the Pro Bowlers while having them do something for the fans and have them compete at something without hitting. And so I appreciate the league taking these steps. Now, because it's so far away from football, I can see how people are turned off by it. But if your solution is let them play a game, then you don't care about them players.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why they got rid of the game, because the game sucked anyway.
Yeah.
I actually didn't watch this, but when I watched the highlights of it, it seemed like they were having fun. Guys are running through walls. Myles Garrett's jumping over things. It looked like it was fun. You never want to see anybody get injured, but
here's what it does. And Brad, you could attest to this. Sometimes the role that you play on a team doesn't let people see your true athleticism.
Right.
And so when you see all these big fat guys out there doing all this jumping and lunging and running around, you're like, wow, these guys are athletic. And I think it's a way of showcasing that so that you understand that these are the elite of the elite, regardless of what position. And so that's one of the things that I hope people are able to take away from that, because, you see Myles Garrett rushing in front of another 300-pound guy, but if you ever see him on the street running, you'll be like, wow, this dude can run. And I think that's what this weekend should probably do more than anything, to let you know the level of talent that is playing in the NFL by the various things that they do. For example, dodgeball, the defense should never win. Them dudes can't catch.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just things like that. So I watched a little bit of it, but I watched it more looking at the athletes themselves and seeing them do athletic things. Like, you think that your biggest guys are your strongest guys, but some of them little guys are strong as hell. And this is just, an event or a weekend where you get to see guys outside of their element, outside of their role on a football field, doing athletic things.
Let me ask you this, Leroy. Your guy, I don't know if he's your guy, I don't even know him personally, a fellow Michigan man, made what I think is one of the dumbest statements in the history of sports. Your guy, Taylor Lewan, did you hear what he said?
What he said?
No, I did not.
He said that every NFL team should retire Tom Brady's number. That is the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. Do you want to defend him or no?
Well, where'd you say he went to school?
He went to Michigan.
Where did Tom Brady go to school?
He went to Michigan.
If it was a Buckeye, they'd be saying the same thing about that Buckeye.
And
So
I would
stop.
tell them that they were stupid too.
But that's fine. But you have to come. Where does this come from?
I know. I get it. I'm just busting your chops.
You know what? Football's different. Football's different in a way that Tom Brady did dominate at his position like Jordan did playing basketball.
But Jordan's number's not retired around the whole league.
A lot of teams have, the Heat do.
For some reason, which they should. The only number in sports that I can think of that is retired by every team is Jackie Robinson. And that, in my opinion, should be the only number retired. But being great, what Jackie Robinson did was well beyond, obviously, playing baseball. He was great at baseball.
Correct.
But Tom Brady's great at football. But he ain't Jackie Robinson. He didn't do what Jackie Robinson did. I don't think you should have every team retire your number because you're a great player. That's how I see it.
I would agree. I would agree with that in some way. I think it's sometimes we take these things too literal, right? I think it was, his way of acknowledging how great Tom Brady was. I don't think he really realistically thinks somebody would do it.
Yeah.
Right? Because I got to tell you, you think Indianapolis is going to retire Tom Brady's number?
Exactly.
Hell no. Right? So,
yeah, it's crazy.
So let's put it in perspective. But as a guy who went to the same school, he probably looks at that a little bit different. But it takes a while before we realize how unprecedented Tom Brady's career was.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I don't think it take a long time.
We too close. Like, think about this, Brad.
Yeah.
Every year that goes by, Jordan gets greater and greater.
Don't he?
Right? But here's the other thing. To the point that we are missing what LeBron James is doing. Right? Like, we have a hard time just appreciating each talent for what they are. We always tend to compare them to somebody else, to the fact that we punish ourselves from enjoying the greatness of the player that's doing it now. And so, like, I don't compare Jordan to LeBron. Jordan is Jordan. And Jordan's greatness has a lot to do with what he's done off the court than on the court. Because if Jordan didn't have tennis shoes, what would he be? Right? He'd still be great, but not at that level. I mean, we talk about them Jordans every day.
Let's talk about it, man. Talk about that. I just talked to my wife about that. It's unacceptable. I only got one pair of Jordans in the last 2 months. We're going to have to figure this thing out, bro.
Right. But so like, as an athlete, and Brad, you could probably say this when you watch basketball, you take each individual and look at his greatness, not compared to others, but compared to what he does. Basketball has changed so much now that great now is not necessarily as great as before, but it's a different level of great.
Yeah, they play different.
So when you think about Steph Curry, you can't talk about Steph Curry being the greatest basketball player ever. He's the greatest basketball player, or one of the greatest basketball players right now. But it's hard to compare what these guys had to do to be successful back in the day. Now, I know Jordan, if it was a three-point contest and Jordan had to be the best three-point shooter, I know that dude has the makeup that he gonna start shooting threes. I'm not just gonna dismiss it, but sports is different than it was back then. And you gotta be a different type of great. And it's hard to compare great with the different eras because different greatnesses were required at that time.
Well, Leroy, I'm glad you brought it up because that is the conversation. LeBron is on the verge of breaking Kareem's record, right? And he's going to be the all-time leading scorer in this league for many decades to come, right? It's going to be a long time before somebody comes around and does that.
Well, because nobody's going to play that many games, Brad.
See, that's what
nobody's going to play as much as he played.
People don't understand, and then you kind of discredit the other people because if you were around when Kareem was playing, what Kareem was doing was unbelievable. Now, he did it without a three-point. I think Kareem had made one three-point basket in his career. One, right?
Right.
And he didn't play the longevity that LeBron has played because they weren't coming out of high school straight into the league now. And I give LeBron credit because he don't take days off like that, right? He's old school throwback. In order to get that record, you have to play just about all the time, and he's done that, right? But you got this conversation going on, Leroy, now talking about, is it Jordan or is it LeBron? And the people are in two different camps here. The younger you are, you're leaning towards LeBron. The older you are, is going Jordan. And that's discounting Kareem, Wilt,
Russell,
right? So if you didn't see that, and it's good for the fans to talk about it, but everybody got to say, I got a side. You know what side I'm on.
You already know.
I already know what side I'm on, right? There ain't no question what side I'm on.
Pick a side. He's like, you the ops over there.
But I would say this, Brett, is there anybody in sports who had a skill that was indefensible like Kareem?
No.
That's right there.
Leroy.
All the sports that has been played, nobody else has done it. We got the teardrop, right? We got guys shooting threes from midcourt.
That hook was a killer.
On the left side, the right side, from the baseline.
Giving it to
Everybody
you.
thought that sky hook was just close to the basket.
Yeah.
I would
He
argue
was
that
shooting 5-10-foot sky hooks.
Leroy, I would argue that Joey Chestnut, the great hot dog eater, has a skill that cannot be topped.
You would talk about food.
Pause. And he's talking about hot dogs, too.
Let me tell you something, Leroy. Don't be a wise guy. Don't be a wise guy.
I'm being a wise guy.
You broke your leg playing golf, for crying out loud.
I don't know that I did. It has been neither confirmed, nor did I. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out. Man, I don't know. When the last time you got up and had a fractured fibula? I don't know.
Yeah.
Leroy, go back to what you're saying here, because Kareem, Kareem was mad at LeBron, right?
Why?
Yeah, they don't get along.
Because I told you, Leroy, it's like this. Them old school dudes don't respect that. They like, you cheating.
Right.
You got it, but you not.
No disrespect to Kareem. LeBron would have gave him buckets, too. No disrespect to the big homie. You're going to get your sky hook on, but you might get dunked on. Kareem is what, 220?
Man.
LeBron 260.
Let me tell you
Yeah,
something.
but Kareem played when they were physical.
Let me
The
tell you
game's not as
something,
physical anymore.
I'm telling you.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was killing people.
He was.
No, dude. I'm telling you, unstoppable.
He
You couldn't
was.
stop this dude. You could not.
It is the most unstoppable skill to ever hit sports. Name something else.
You don't have it. Nobody.
Like we talk about Mariano Rivera, what's his name? Mariano Rivera throwing that cutter, right?
Yeah, that was pretty unstoppable.
It got hit every now and then.
I'm sure Kareem didn't make every skyhook he took.
Damn near.
By the way, there are two. I didn't realize this. There are two other numbers retired in sports. Wayne Gretzky's 99 in hockey. I didn't know that.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
And I forgot about this one. They just retired Bill Russell.
Yeah, Bill Russell.
Oh, yeah.
But people still wear 6.
What's that?
People can still wear 6 as long as your grandfathered in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like LeBron wears 6.
I gotta ask you. This is a serious question. This is a serious question because this week is the Super Bowl, and it's the first time 2 African American quarterbacks are playing at the same time, starters, right?
Yep.
You came in an era where there were not that many. You had guys like, for me, I think the staple would be Warren Moon, and we know how prolific he was and what he had to do. He didn't even come in the league straight off the start. Randall Cunningham, guys like that.
Cunningham.
Let me ask you this.
McNair.
Yep. A lot of people will say is if you're African American and you point out the fact that, hey, the Browns had an all-black quarterback room. Some people will say to you, why does that matter? Black quarterbacks are here all the time. Why would you point that out? Do you believe now that it's so prolific and now that it's happening and there's a lot of great black quarterbacks in the league and some of them like Mahomes and Hurts and all these guys, Lamar Jackson, they almost become the face of the league. Do you believe it is worth still acknowledging the fact that there are 2 African American quarterbacks? And do you kind of see why people push back against that? And just in your opinion.
I can see why people push back. You know what I mean? But it's the first
Why?
time.
Because they're racist?
It's the first time. So that's why it's being mentioned so much. And we all know how these stories with the, when some report asked Doug Williams how long you been a black quarterback. Right? So if you could ask a question like that, why can't we like, hey man, this is the first time 2 black quarterbacks started a Super Bowl. It's a fact. It's the first time it happened. Same way we did with Lovie Smith and Tony Dungy when they were coaching down here in Miami. Okay? Like, it's the first time. Now, granted, when you look at these 2 guys, I would hope that more people across the league are thinking, I need a quarterback like that with that skill set than them pushing back. Because that is what needs to be talked about. Because you have 2 guys who couldn't be totally different than how they do things, right? Yet they're both African American. And that is the point that needs to be made. Jalen Hurts, multi-talented. He can run the football. He runs the RPO. He can throw the football. Patrick Mahomes is Aaron Rodgers-like in the way that he releases the football and creates plays after it's broken down. So when you start talking about these quarterbacks, I look at it as, side note, they're both African American. But it's the first time it's happened, so you're going to probably hear about it a little bit more. And second of all, right, the days of the quarterback sitting in the pocket and throwing the football like Dan Marino or Boomer Esiason or one of them guys, that's long gone. Because the other thing you have to realize is that pass rush ain't no joke. And you can't have a quarterback just sitting in the pocket anymore. You got to have a guy that has some ability to move and extend plays. And I think that's the most important thing is that football itself as a whole has taken that quarterback position and required that it has more athleticism than it has in the past.
But they're still.
So they can say whatever they want.
Leroy,
you can, but the reality of it is the facts speak for themselves.
There's still, I think it is a big deal. I think it's certainly worth noting. Anybody that has a problem with it, to me, who cares about those people? They're racist anyway.
Right.
No, I wouldn't say it's racist.
I do.
Well, here's
you don't have to say it. I think it is.
Sometimes, people will say there's people that are past because we've seen so many great black quarterbacks, right?
Right, but there's still an inherent, I believe, and that doesn't mean I think sometimes when you say there's like racism, like people say there's racism in America, that means you think every white person's racist. No, of course not every white person's racist. But it's something in our society, and it still exists in the NFL world. If you really look carefully into it, there's still, even when a black coach gets hired or a black quarterback is a quarterback, there's still a general, people are quicker to say that's a fluke or let's fire him and let's not give him another chance. And I'm not even saying all the people that are doing that are racist. Sometimes it's just subconscious. And there is still, when you have executives still saying, Lamar Jackson should try out as a wide receiver, when Jalen Hurts should try out as a wide receiver. There's still a level of that in the NFL. It's not across the board like it was, but there's still a level of that, which makes it harder for a black quarterback to get an opportunity, even to this day.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem, Boo.
Yeah.
And I believe this with all that I am. If you run a team and you are trying to construct a team and you have that attitude, you're not going to be good at your job.
That's correct. That's true.
And so when you listen to the people saying things like that, I just look at him and say, he's terrible at what he does. And I don't care who it is. I don't care that Bill Polian said Lamar Jackson should play wide receiver. That means I can't trust your opinion. And so the more of that we get, and the more people put themselves out there, because everybody want a hot take, right? The more you put yourself out there, the more ignorant you choose to be. So I don't look at it anyway as here's another one, here's another guy, right? And the thing about sports that I really love at this moment is that there's so many different body types, so many different ways to do the same thing. And because you have all these players in all sports that are so athletic, it's incumbent upon the organizations and these coaching staffs to put them in the best position so that everybody in the organization can succeed. And if you don't, shame on you. And that's what I'm starting to see. You're starting to see, guys that have had players that nobody thought would work out. They changed the coach. Boom, boom, boom. Look at this. You look at down here in Miami. You had a coach who wasn't a fan of Tua for whatever reason, right? You bring in a new coach, and Tua now was leading the league in about 5 or 6 categories. Mm-hmm. Put him in the best position to be successful with his skill set. That is the hardest thing to do in sports when we just sit here having a conversation about how athletic and talented guys are with the roles that they fill. They probably could do a lot of other things. So I don't look at it anyway as looking at, hey, that guy don't know what he's doing. And I look at it that way. I look at it, when you look at the Baltimore Ravens, why the hell haven't they paid Lamar Jackson? Who else you gonna get? Go find me another Lamar Jackson.
Man, and Leroy, good stuff as always, man. We appreciate you taking the time. It's a good point.
Always.
We'll talk to you soon. Leroy,
Okay.
always great chatting with Leroy.
All right, Leroy.
And
All right.
Leroy will not be on overtime today.